How are you all doing today? This is Faust and this is Faust Talks. So, these videos I usually do, these videos are completely unscripted, so you'll just have to deal with me stammering and muttering my way through as I talk about random stuff, mostly about games, 40k, whatever is on my mind at the time. So, what's happened? I really haven't made a video in about a month. So, what happened with that is I got a sinus infection and I really could not talk too well. So, I really couldn't talk more than like 30 seconds without coughing and gagging and sounding horrible. And then about a week after that, I was getting a little bit better, but still, I wasn't able to talk super well. I could talk about 60 seconds, and then I start coughing and gagging because of the sinus infection. Okay, and then hold on. I still have a little bit of a sinus infection going on, so it's like the tail end of it. So, during week one, I really couldn't talk or do anything or even do a video. Week two, I've actually been working on an RPG. So, me, I'm not the best player in an RPG. I actually get very annoyed, get very tired, and I don't like being a player in an RPG. So, like a tabletop game, like pen and paper, Dungeon and Dragon style. So, with that, I am a DM. So what happened is that I was a DM. I'm doing a DM for a group of friends. The game system or the game world is based off of the Iron Kingdoms. The Iron Kingdoms is a privateer press product and world, and it's based off of the game the War Machine Hordes War Horde video game, not video game, but miniature game series. So with the RPG, the Iron Kingdoms, is it does require you to have models, and models are a very important part in the game. And with just how the game is set up, is everything from exploration, moving around, and combat is based off of the miniature game system. The way War Machine is set up as a miniature game, as a miniature games, is Iron Kingdoms is an RPG that has that miniature game system in it. So it, with the games, the cards, the stats of the characters, they're all very similar to the actual miniature game. So you can pretty much run off of that. And everything is very precise, so there's a whole bunch of like measuring tools that you can use to ensure that everything's within proper range and you move properly. So you can actually move around. But yeah, exploration and all that stuff is set up. So when you're playing let me get a sip of my tea. So the tea I'm drinking right now, it is called I actually forgot the darn name. It's now I remember, Throat Comforter from Yogi's Teas. So it has like mint, it has like chamomile, and like some other stuff in there. It's good. It's not my favorite tea, but it does help. Okay. Now back to what I was talking about. So usually when you're playing, if you want to really focus on the miniatures, which I do, because combat is like a big thing, move around, interacting in the world, dealing with stuff, is that there's terrain, like 2D terrain you can really use that is actually quite used a lot with the actual miniature game, 2D terrain. So it's just like, think about a mouse pad, like that kind of material. That's kind of what all the terrain is made from, cut from, and then it has designs on it so you know what it is. If it's like a forest, if it's a rock, if it's a trench, a bridge, some water, stuff like that. Mist, like misty areas, etc., etc. So there's a lot that is actually used in it. So what I do is I set up some terrain. Like I go to a buddy's house, set up some stuff. I have some 3D terrain that's mostly like walls and stuff and big towers and buildings. But then most of the terrain is 2D. Okay, but I'm going a little bit too much into it right now. I can talk a little bit more about it later. But, so, I'm doing a DM game with some buddies, or DMing an RPG for some buddies in the world of Iron Kingdoms, made by Privateer Press. Fun world, it's all steampunk, magic, or arcane stuff, so yeah, it's very fun. And I do like the miniature game. It's based off the miniature game, or the miniature game was based off the RPG, and then the miniature game became super big. So I was doing that for a week, and I was really focused because I'm talking about, dude, I did a lot of writing, did a lot of development, story, like further points into the story, several different quest lines and things going on there. So with that group is that I've like the first like one of the first games they were able to go to an area that where they're near a train track after they took out a group of people that was left at a village to pretty much occupy it as kind of a small vanguard. They took that out, and there's a train, some train tracks near. One of the people said is like, hey, what if we get some horses and then we start hijacking the trains and doing Wild West stuff like that? I'm like, dude, we can do that. I have written scenarios for stuff like that. And plus, I'm actually pretty good at just making up a lot of stuff as like on the fly, using like the material I already have written. So I can adjust quite easily. But I also do like to write down some things just so I can have the stuff. So week 2. So this is pretty much week 2 of having the sinus infection. I am like so hardcore focused on that. So yeah, the game series is based off the Iron Kingdoms. Yes. Am I using the books? No. I'm not using any of their books or stuff. I'm pretty much running my own little system, like own game system and everything, really based off of the miniature game of War Machine, which I know very well. I play that game quite a lot, like tournament players, stuff like that, a lot of casual play too. So I do have quite a lot of fun with the game series, but I do know how to run I do know how the game will flow, because I'm just pretty much using the miniature game's rules for the RPG. And then I am now, goodness, I forgot what I was going to say, that part. Using the miniature game rules to play the RPG. And then I'm also doing stuff like where I'm building and making actual like character sheets, stuff like that, where they can have multiple items, things like that. Changing up some stuff, but it's something I made up in a few weeks, played it with some buddies, and still adjusting. So the game is still going on, it's just that it's better is... So, okay. Week 3. Week 3, I was getting better, and then something happened around, I want to say, Tuesday, and then I was actually getting like pretty darn bad, like not Tuesday, Thursday, like really, really sick. I don't know what happened, what kicked it up, but I got even more sick. I'm like, what the hell, I was getting better. And then on Friday, something else happened where I got even more sick. I'm talking about at the level of like, okay, so really sick, like constantly just blowing nose. Everything that was coming out of my face was like yellow or green. It was horrible. And especially at night, I could not sleep at night. It was like every hour I had to wake up, cough up like half a cup of mucus, and then and it lasts for like 20 minutes, and then now I have a chance to just go back to sleep for another hour. That was Friday night into Saturday. And then Saturday morning, my face started swelling up from the infection. I had to go to an urgent care for my. It's an urgent care that's in my medical insurance, so I was able to go there super cheap. And they gave me a penicillin shot in the butt, and then a few different shots also in the butt. Yeah, and in a butt cheek, if you've ever had. It's not like the bottom of the butt cheek where you sit. It's like the very top of the butt cheek. Is that where you don't sit on. So, but if you move around, but it does move a lot, so it actually gets the stuff going through your system. So had multiple shots, got on some antibiotics, and then antibiotics, a few other things, and then as time goes, and then that same day, I was like feeling pretty bad, and then I just went to go to sleep. Like after I got home, I went to go to sleep, and then I woke up like 3 hours later. My goodness, I felt like a new person. I felt so good, just compared to like the low that I was at, and then just getting better. And so that was last weekend, and then the week of me taking the 7 days of antibiotics, 7 days of antibiotics, and just trying to get better, and I have gotten better. I feel a lot better. Right now is like this is just the last dregs of the sinus infection that is still around. So yeah, I am a lot better. I'm happy. I don't feel like I'm going to die, because at that time I did feel like that. Because especially with getting an infection, my face was swelling up, and I'm like, dude, if my face is swelling up, next thing that's going to happen is my brain's going to get the infection, and I'm going to die. So I had to go fast as I could. Went to an urgent care, got taken care of right then and there, and then a few hours later, after getting the penicillin shot and taking the first antibiotics, my goodness, that's what I needed. Current medical technology to take care of that. Because that sinus infection, 3 weeks just kept getting worse and worse, and then this last week of actually being on antibiotics and stuff is, I'm better. I can actually talk for minutes on end without coughing and gagging and spitting up a whole bunch of mucus and crazy stuff like that. I'm still not 100%, but I would say I'm like around 80% of like normal functioning, or like normal health standards or levels. All right, and then with so that was the week, the month I should say, that I was out. I really didn't make a video. So like during that time, I was talking with Tyler. I was trying to actually get a little podcast going on where I can talk with the homie. We can talk about stuff. First, based off of 40K, the series, or like our podcast based off of 40K, where I'm the guy that has the knowledge and he is the everyman, where he would come into the 40K fan base by me talking to stuff, telling about stuff, and also every episode have like a small subject where you can research a little bit about, and then you can ask questions about, we can bring up, talk about it, stuff like that. So a series that would make people, it would make it easier for people to get into 40K, because hey, now you have someone you can kind of go off of. Tyler's an everyman person. He's not a crazy 40K junkie like I am, where I know all about the series, know a lot about the stuff, mostly the Imperium. Knowledge has branched off to other sections of the series and stuff like that. So it'll be a lot easier, like having like someone like Tyler who's like, okay, so like, why do they have those backpacks on, the Space Marines? something that every 40k person kind of just takes as like that's just their backpack, their power pack, stuff like that. Things we know that we would never even really think about bringing up in a conversation to explain something. But someone like a straight man or a everyman like Tyler would ask, and then that's when I could actually explain, see some stuff, so they can actually know, and things like that. And I am also trying to. I would like to get a podcast with another buddy going on. He's a pretty big 40k guy too, but he's huge into Eldar and Necrons and Tau. So he knows a lot about that stuff, but it's actually quite difficult to get something set up with him going. Because it's like he's willing to do stuff on a Saturday. It's like, hey, he can get together, do stuff, get the things rolling, but it's like, hey, it's only on Saturday kind of thing. And kind of like the time of gaming. We could probably do it another day, like on a Friday, but it's like, okay, the guy acts like he's 70 years old, but he is not that damn old. I'm like, dude, like you're 45, man. Yeah, to a lot of people, it's like 45. That's like twice my age. Well, it's like 15 years older than me. I'm like, hey, dude. Yeah, you're 45, but dude, you act like you're freaking 70. And on top of it too is the guy. He went bald and his hair went white quick. So I'm talking about the homie does look like he's 70. If you would have told me that, I'm like, dude, I would have believed you if you told me you were 70 because you look old as a mofo old man, dude. Like, no joke. Chill, homie, but it seems like on most days he's flaky, except for Saturday, which is kind of the gaming night and the night when I really run the RPG. And so, yeah, focus on that. But yeah, I'll go a little bit into it. So, with our gaming group, we actually tried a 40k game. So 40k, we were doing like the Inquisitor, like the Rogue Trader Inquisitor game style, moving, going off that. He has some books and stuff, basing the game off that. So we did a few games of that. But the thing is that the guy just hit some crazy hard like writer's block. He just did not know what to do, how to go, how to move. He just kind of like hit a writer's block. I don't know what's going on with the homie about that, but hey, all of us, we all have our own problems. And we can only talk about it if they're willing to talk about it. Like they say, you can bring a horse to water, but only Chuck Norris can make a horse drink. And I'm not Chuck Norris. Okay? The actual phrase, saying is you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And the joke on top of it is Chuck Norris can make a horse drink. Okay. So, the homie, I've tried talking with him, stuff like that, see if I can help him wherever he's having the issues that's going on and what's falling down. Because he's been a homie for about 2 years. Chill guy. Been like pretty much every week for darn near 2 years. Gone over to his place. We've gamed. Pretty much every holiday is that he has like a dinner going on. And at first we did have a larger friend group. We had about like 7 people. And then it's kind of waned down to just me. So me, the homie I'm talking about, the homie's roommate, and the homie's wife. And then me and then my little guy. So we tried doing where we do some games and stuff like that a little bit, but it was kind of set up for like a little RPG. It wasn't the 40k. It was the first game we started with is a White Wolf game series. It's White Wolf based off that game series, and then he was using like the werewolf and then the Mage Ascension and like 2 other two other systems into his game. So pretty much like Mage the Ascension, it's pretty much because that was my character. I can explain a little bit more when I was playing that. So it's a book that pretty much tells you how to make a character, how to run a character, and how a character like this would work. So it's pretty much a book just geared to mage characters based in the White Wolf game system. And then people would make games from there. Yeah, there's stories and things like that and stuff that could help you in each one of the books, but the only one I really did was Mage the Ascension because that was the character I wanted, was a mage. So that lasted for like a good, I want to say like 4 months. And then some stuff happened with the group, the larger group, the other 7 people. And it just because like a lot of them, they lived with each other. Stuff happened. They split up, and eventually just like started waning one by one. It's like we lost people from the group, and it was just kind of like the core 5 people that I'm talking about. That was our group. So we stopped the game, and then it just became a night that where we got together, we played board games, a lot of like Mansions of Madness, which is actually pretty darn fun. So Mansions of Madness, we hung out, drank a lot, and then he wanted to run the 40K a little bit later. And then the 40K actually started going. We got one other person to join. So we're playing the game. And then like about 3 sessions in, he just writer block. Writer block for like about a month. And then like the other guy is saying is that he wanted to play an RPG. He just like he's fine with hanging out, but the main reason why he started hanging out was to play an RPG. So I told them is like, hey, if you all want me to run a game, I have ideas, I have things that I've been working on for a bit, and they all said yeah. So I threw some things together, grabbed the Iron Kingdoms world, and then just the world and game system, started playing it, and then kind of like a little story that I've been working on for an RPG been going. So we're like at session 4 now. So the basis of what happened with the group is so the group all live in this one village. It is called, they named it the Sugar Turnip Village. So they are in the country of Signar in the Iron Kingdoms. So they are in the country of Signar. It is a southern country. It is one of the most powerful countries in the nation. And their big thing is electrical technology, or their magic is huge electricity. Electrical and electricity is their biggest magics that they use. So that's just the basis of Signar. The village is just a village up in the mountains that pretty much where they make sugar turnips. This is what they've made up. So I had a list, and I pretty much went down the list, asking them questions, and then as they are, because it's like, oh, you get to pick a character and make your class. No, you're a villager. You don't know how to do anything. You barely even know how to walk outside and take a poop in the poop area. You barely can do that. You're a villager. You'll learn stuff as time goes on. So as they're making their characters, backgrounds, and stuff like that, is one of the big things is where they're at. Where do they live? What kind of village it is? When they look up in the sky, like what do they see? Like the colors, the clouds, smog, stuff like that. So just gave them a large list, and then they just chose, they made a village, and it's pretty much they're in the mountains, and they're a village that's major export is sugar turnips. And then, so one of the characters is a female Iozan elf who has been in the village for the last 150 years. And the last 70 years, the elf has been the, what's that called? the assistant magistrate of the village, helping running and everything. And then the homie I talked about, he was a blacksmith, human Signarian blacksmith. His wife was a is a gobber. So pretty much a gobber is a goblin in like D&D, but in the world of the Iron Kingdoms, is gobbers are beloved creatures because they're silly little creatures that are honest and willing to help and do stuff. That's just like the civilized gobbers. The uncivilized ones, they're just regular old monsters. But the civilized ones, everyone loves them because they're adorable little creatures that dress like normal people, but they're too short, so everything's too big on them. And they're always willing to help. So the gobber, the wife picked, the buddy's wife picked, is a craftsman. So pretty much can do most things that we need. And then one of the buddies, the other buddy that wanted to play RPGs, he chose Kadorian, and he lives in the village because yes, in Iron Kingdoms, Kador is another country that is up north, the frozen tundra, Russia, stuff like that. And yes, they are constantly at war with all the other countries around because they're just trying to reclaim the land that they once had 300 years ago, or like 1,000 years ago before the freaking whatever came and tried to take over before humans discovered that they could use magic and started making warjacks. So they're always fighting with everyone. All right, sip of my tea. So, with that, Signar accepts everyone. Signar is a country that has all the different species and races within their country because they accept everyone. Their thing is like, you come here, become like, hey, you're Signarian. Like we don't care if you have blue skin, white skin, you have sharp ears, you're a troll. Like, nah, you come here, you become Signarian, we accept you. That's how they are. And then, so the buddy that wanted to play the RPGs was a Signarian guy who was a goat herder. So he's always out with the goats, and because he's always out with his goats and everything, he needs a way to protect them. So he has himself a military rifle. And then my little guy, he decided to play a Nis elf. Pretty much it's like the Isles and elf, but they shifted off and became a different clan from the Eilzen, and they lived in the the frozen mountains to the west, or I mean the east, and they live over there. So they are very hardy people. They are followers of Nisor, the elven god of like the frost, cold, stuff like that. So they're very cold resistant. They have like bonuses to cold, like cold attacks, resistance, etc., etc. Because they're blessed by Nisor. Pretty much his element is cold and ice, so they have resistances and buffs whenever they use that. And they're just a more hardier elf in general. Okay, so that's our team. 2 elves, 2 humans, and a gobber. That is our little crew, 5 people. So what happens is that they're there, and they're telling me about their like average day of what they normally do, things like that. Blacksmith is making a lot of nails for everyone, just because nails are a huge thing. Village is always constantly trying to expand and grow, things like that, stuff like that. They down the Black River, or no, they're not near the Black River. They're like in the center of Signar. They're in the center of Signar in the mountains, where the mountains are. So they're there. talking about their normal days, things that they're doing, and then what happens is that Signar military comes there with a recruiter looking for people. So they try to find a few people there, just with the village in general. The only people that they could really find that fit for military service was our party. So the whole party pretty much gets gets drafted, and then they're supposed to go with it. But what happens is that the sheep herder and the blacksmith, they decide to fight against them, and they just pretty much get smacked around, get tied up, and thrown into a wagon, while everyone else just walks with them. So yeah, those guys are pretty much in a wagon. No one cares about them, while the people that join, yeah, it's like, yeah, you're gonna have to walk, but we're not gonna be jerks to you because we want you in our military. And then they go to an area where they have like 1 month of training, and that is when an NPC character, a Trollkin, that they decided to name, so it's Sergeant Viagra. Which was a pretty funny joke at the time. Everyone found it funny. But that character was pretty much your drill instructor for a month, just to get them like, hey, this is to just like see where they're at, teach them orders, and then like give them a little bit of training. And then with that is 1 month passes, and then they they have a first mission. So their first mission is actually to go up north to a fort that is called Fort Fall. It is a quite a big fort that, well, just in my game, it is a major fort that actually protects the Black River. That it is high up north. Its biggest protection area is the Black River, and is preventing Khador forces from coming down, so there is a lot of troops and movement through there. So as they're going up, is one of the other things is that they they end up going to a village. They end up going to a random village that they saw some smoking stuff coming from, so they decided to go there. They go to this village. There's a small group of just some mercenaries there that were put there as a small vanguard because of the, like, they're trying to have small forces like gather. Khador trying to get small forces into Signar. That was a small little vanguard, about 7 people. So they pretty much took over a village that's kind of like in the center of the country, and they're going to use that as like a little outpost as they get more troops eventually. So it was a group of mercenaries that was doing it. People from the Steelhead mercenary companies. And if you're not familiar with the Iron Kingdoms, so the Steelhead mercenaries, they are a very big, wide, well-known mercenary mercenary group, and they have multiple chapter houses all over the place. So yes, there is many times that where Steelheads are fighting Steelheads, but it is one Steelhead chapter in, say, like Signar versus one that's in Khador. Their armor is relatively plain, but it's also kind of also well known. So their armor is just like very basic armor that they have. Plates, some shoulder armor, wearing a gambeson under. So very basic armor. But they paint it like they're somewhat iconic, but they're also very plain how they are. So with the Steelheads is like with how many they are. People are, it's just their armor is quite really easy to get. So pretty much anyone can have it. And their armor is very plain, very non-unique. So it's easily able to, you can really tell who's Steelheads based off their banners that they're carrying. Like the groups that carrying and stuff like that. So they just go there, small group of them. They go fight. And then in the NPC, Sergeant Viagra, a Trollkin, has hyper regeneration, so heals very quickly, and it's just the stronger person in the group. So I like that. That's the one I mostly control, just going around doing a little bit of fighting here and there, helping out the group. But it's kind of like he's the guy, like he's a sergeant that's yelling at them, telling them what to do. Like, hey, like in combat, guys over there in the rubble, go into cover, watch out for the shots, shit like that. Just kind of getting their heads wrapped around in the miniature game and the rules of it. So it's kind of the way I can use to teach them the rules of the game as they're playing. And yeah, getting a little bit of help. Because remember, right now they're just a group of villagers that just have very little training and some weapons. So after that after that session was done, next session is going to be 2 more weeks to go up to Fort Fall. So that time was them traveling, having 2 weeks, like going around, like every day they roll to see what happens, things like that. They talk, conversate, got to know each other, things happening, got to know Sergeant Viagra a little bit, and then they they made it to the main road so they can be able to go up to Fort Fall a lot quicker. And then there's a forest area over there that they decided to take a break. So they got there, took a break, chilled for like a few days. And then during that time was like, anytime we had a break in the session, I just went up to different people in the group, hand them little sticky notes with like questions and things and stuff like that that's happening. Or like if they want it, like, hey, there's a deal. Like, hey, your approach by K. Dorian Spy wanting to talk with you. So we would go back into the game room while everyone else is out in the kitchen, living room. And we just kept going. I just did that with pretty much every single person multiple times. See what they wanted. Is pretty much everyone else stayed true to like the core in the country, but the Kadorian guy decided to go with the with the Kadorian spies, and then like actually betray the group, because like the first session he wanted to be kind of an evil character, like an evil-like character, or at least do some stuff, and it's like, okay, we can play that, we can do that. All right, have another sip of my tea. So I'm like thinking is, yeah, that's easy enough, we can do that, no issue. So I got it set up, and then like his major thing is that Fort Fall has some big gates, like big, really heavy gates, a lot of defense, stuff like that. His job was that in about 2 months' time, at the full moon, at nighttime, he was given explosives, and he's going to find more explosives too, to blow up the gates so that the Signorian forces can go in. Because currently, right now, Fort Fall is gathering a lot of the Trencher Corps and the Arcane Tempest. The Arcane Tempest gun mages. Just because they are, they're fighting against Kador, but the big thing is that they are trying to help Liao with Kador invading, taking over half the country, and that's one of their allies. And they're getting a big force so they can push into Liao and actually help them out. So they are getting a lot of their Trencher Corps. So think about the Trencher Corps is just like the U.S. soldiers from World War II. But they have long coats, and then under those long coats is a chainmail coat. So they can take a melee hit. And their big things is they can dig a quick little improvised fighting position so that they don't block line of sight. They get cover from shots, and they're immune to blasts, and they have smoke grenades, so they can smoke grenades that last like 2-3 rounds, that they can really adjust and manipulate the battlefield. So that's the trenchers. The arcane. What is it called? It is the Arcane Tempest gun mages. Those guys are pretty much, they are magic users that are They kind of look like they wear tricorner hats. They kind of look like they're like gun duelist kind of people, and they pretty much have weapons that are called mage locks. It is pretty much a gun that is, yeah, like a flintlock, but they are able to cast. It is a very strong reinforced gun that they're able to cast spells on the bullets and then shoot the bullets, and the bullets become the spell. And the reason why the gun is so reinforced is because they're shooting magic through a gun as a medium to so the gun doesn't explode. Because it's like, oh hey, I cast a spell on this gun on this bullet. Now the bullet turns into a lightning bolt shooting out of my gun. Yeah, that's going to do some damage if it isn't really reinforced. Okay, so those are kind of like the two things. So after all that stuff that happened, is they finally get to Fort Fall. They get to Fort Fall, and that's when the goat herder guy, he drops out. Drops out because of the homie that we game at. He just I would say like pushing a little bit few, like going beyond his comfort zone and making him feel not comfortable. So he left. But no hard feelings on me and anyone else in the group. So I'm like, okay, that happens. People leave. So the next session, it was just is where the people actually would learn a job. It's like, hey, so people learned which job they're going to pick and which job that they're going to learn so they can do some stuff. So I had 2 people that became trenchers, 2 people that became gun mages. And they learned several different spells with their guns. And the trenchers, they got different armor, different weapons, stuff like that. Or should I say they actually got armor, got weapons, got better weapons, stuff like that. The same with the people that became gun mages, they actually got armor and stuff. So like after a month there, pretty much I did like every week would be something, so it would be a little bit quicker. So they learned some skills, they learned stuff. And then after that first month, they went on a mission. The way I run my games is 90% of all combat encounters can be solved without combat. So there is always that option, like 90% of the time, that option is always there. You can always use your words to disarm something or talk your way out of it. You don't have to fight. So there's a village that was reporting a lot of like bandits coming, harassing the people, doing stuff, things like that. So they asked for the military's help. They sent us over there. They go there, and then as the leader of the group is the female Iol's elf. Starts talking with them because she has the highest charisma, so she can actually talk with people and like see what's happening, and then like has the highest trust level, so people actually will trust her, things like that. And then our blacksmith guy decides to be an idiot, and I'm just like, I let him move his models, do stuff like that as he moves around, and then he jumps over the wall, and then other people see that. They run, like the other guards see that, they run over there. Freaking like, why is someone jumping across our wall when there's a group of people out here? Yeah, so they freak out, attack him, and then there's this whole little like yelling things happening, but then everyone had to like actually talk with the blacksmith, like, dude, you need to calm down. We're doing some shit. You're pissing people off. And then so they avoided fight. They went around. They like the forest to find the people. They could not find anyone until like a little bit later, where I had to like kind of fudge some rolls for them. Sergeant Viagra comes here, helps them. Said he's been tracking stuff, found where it is, goes there. They go into a bunker. There's bandits there in a bunker. And then the leader is a badass on a horse. So they, instead of them going there, is like my idea is I wanted them to like go up there. You go through the door. You hold everyone up. You're all there. You all have guns. You point them at people. You hold them all up. You see what's happening. You talk with them. You can solve this whole fight, this whole combat encounter without fighting. The first thing that they do is throw smoke grenades and start shooting through. I'm like, motherfucker. I was good. Like, because I had it set up where they would get more experience if they would have just talked things through instead of fighting. And then they pretty much taken everyone out, and then the session was done. Session 4 is going to be popping up next week. And with that session, I was going to add more things, like a little bit more crazier, like Eldridge kind of things, because my main goal is that at least halfway through, they're really encountering and dealing with several different cults, Eldritch entities and monsters, shadow monsters, things like that. And they are able to go to other dimensions and planes, trying to track down some people. So yeah, it's going to be pretty crazy. I have some stuff set up. But with the video, it's going on a little bit longer than I thought. So I'm going to end it now. I'll talk to you all later. And remember, most importantly of all, always love the Kellhound. You all take care now.